Welcome to the Level Up Your Band podcast, episode 84. Hello, and welcome back to the Level Up Your Band podcast. My name is Gavin Patterson. I'm here with Julian Pombo.
Hello.
Sup?
Not much.
Not much.
No, not much.
Totally haven't spent the last 2 hours with you, so...
No, yeah, we've exhausted. We've already talked about how I am and how things are going. I'm not going to repeat myself. No, I'm joking. Yeah, things are good. I'm going to get... will I be married by the time this podcast comes out? Really?
Yes.
Right, okay, I'll be married by the time this podcast comes out. Yep. So, that's weird.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. It only took 10 years.
Yeah, 10-year engagement.
10-year engagement. I got engaged twice.
Not to different people, to the same person.
Same person, because it's not a strict rule, but like they usually say, it's up to 5 years, so I had to renew my warranty basically. Okay. Like, hey, is this still okay?
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was. Rachel and I were just talking about it recently, and we decided to get married. We decided to just go for it at the start of this year.
Yep.
Which is insane,
Yeah.
Just goes to show how little time you actually need to actually plan a wedding.
Yeah, this is it.
If you clean your bedroom and
the thing that baffles me about weddings is the wedding is usually organised by the future bride and groom, and they have never organised a wedding. Sometimes not even a party before. So you're thrown into this thing where you don't know what you're doing unless you have a wedding planner. But what's funny is, because I'm in a wedding band, as you are as well, how many times have you turned up to a wedding and everyone's up to high dough and they're micromanaging everything you've got to do, and you're like, it's fine, I've done 60 of these this year already, we know what we're doing.
There's that part which has been, because I've played weddings before, so I already know what's going on, kind of thing. But yeah, it's in that respect, it's been, and the sort of shorter timescale has been quite good, because it means that we just went venue, that one there, food, this, and we've just made we've not and erred over like really stupid decisions, because they really are stupid decisions at the end of the day.
Diminishing returns as well. It's like going to the cereal aisle and starting at the first cereal you see, let's have a cost benefit analysis of every cereal and what I'm going to get like from each single one.
That's what my dad does.
It's like, no, just this one.
The nutritional value per pence.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
No. Yeah, anyway. So that'll be another podcast episode. How to get... No, I'm joking. Imagine.
A podcast on the ample time required to be engaged before getting married.
I think 10 months is enough.
Not 10 years.
Not 10 years, but 10 months is certainly enough time to plan a wedding. You don't need like...
Having said that, like trying to book venues now... Good luck. It's going to be a weekday wedding, basically, if you try and book one now.
Yeah, we got Friday.
Yeah,
which wasn't
Fridays. Friday's decent.
Yeah. Anyway,
so what's today about? I've been looking forward to this.
So this is. Have you actually? Good, because I had to subject myself to possibly some of the worst music I think I've ever listened to, and I've listened to a lot of crap. Including crap that I used to listen to, which I thought was good, and then I grew up and I was like, actually, this isn't very good, Yeah. So today, if unless what was I going to say? brain don't work. Unless you've been living under a rock this entire time. I would be very surprised if you hadn't heard of a band called the Tramp Stamps.
I live under a rock.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of them.
No,
so.
yeah, I mean, fair enough. You don't, you don't. I don't know why I do this to myself, but I end up sort of keeping up with these kind of things. So, I mean, to be fair, this is very late that we're talking about this. Well, it's not really, because the last sort of controversial thing happened in August this year, and it's September.
Uh-huh.
It just feels like it happened like decades ago.
Right.
It's bizarre.
Right.
So we're going to talk about a band called the Tramp Stamps. Tramp Stamps are an American pop band from Nashville, Tennessee.
Must be good then.
Oh yeah, the best. You got that Nashville sound, you know.
Yep.
Trio consists of lead singer Marissa Mano, guitarist Caroline Baker, and drummer Paige Blue. After initially gaining popularity on the platform TikTok, the group has received backlash for controversial lyrical content, usage of punk culture aesthetics without understanding their meanings, and their alleged ties to the commercial music industry, as well as a couple of other little things like past tweets and things like that. I hate it.
So when did it start?
They started
2020.
About December last year.
2020. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's on TikTok primarily.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you a whole timeline of this band.
Okay.
It's usually when we've done this, it's when we've done a band like Jefferson Airplane or Weezer or Muse, they have like any of them, they have a really long history. They've been through various different things. 6 months. 6 months this band has more or less last. I think they're still putting stuff out. I could be wrong. Okay. Happy to be corrected on that. But I think the last thing that they did was some kind of really weird ranty video where they were just complaining about the criticism that they were getting from people, which already kind of gives you an idea of the sort of, mental space that these people are sort of inhabiting. Can't take criticism.
Yeah.
Anyway, so here's the timeline of the band. Mano, Baker, and Blue allegedly meet in a bar, get drunk, and decide to start a band and a label called Make Tampons Free. That's about late 2020. So November,
that's
December.
what the label's called?
Make Tampons Free.
Is the name of their label.
Is the name of their label that they're releasing under. So there you go. Tramp Stamps start posting on Instagram regularly, building up hype for the debut single. They clearly must have been listening to our podcast.
Yeah.
Because that's a smart thing to do, right?
Yep.
So they start doing that. Their debut single is called Sex With Me, and it gets around, at the moment, it's sitting on around 700,000 views on YouTube. I think that by the time it came out, it's hit around 500,000.
Okay.
500K. And that was January 2021. And then those songs were followed up by 2 more singles called 1-800 Miss Your Guts, which didn't do very well, and I'd Rather Die, which became infamous due to its lyrical content. So that was about April 2021.
Okay.
And then basically from fallout of that, when that song came out, I'd Rather Die, a whole load of nonsense ends up happening. We're not going to get into the proper weeds of it because there's a lot, and a lot of it I don't really care about. There is a video, if you want to look further into this, it delves into the sort of juicier, sillier parts of it by a New Zealand YouTuber called Izzy. Izzy's spelled IZZY. Her stuff's really fun. But she did a video, like a proper 1 hour highly edited breakdown of the Tramp Stamps. It's pretty it's a fun watch. I recommend it. Anyway, so after that, people start calling them out as industry plants, criticize the lyrical content, question their authenticity, start digging up stuff about their past and things like that. Basically, the whole cancelling. They basically try and cancel them.
Who does?
Just people on the internet. The internet tries to cancel the Tramp Stamps.
Okay.
Like digging up tweets where
So it's
people
almost
have
as
used
if
the N word and things like that.
Oh, right, okay. So it's almost as if the online mob, if you want to call it that, could sense that something was illegitimate.
Yeah. So we'll start with one of those words that I used, or one of those terms that I used, industry plant, which gets thrown about a lot. So I'll explain what that is first. So an industry plant is someone who's basically portrayed as being like a small, unsigned sort of indie artist, but actually has some pretty deep connections to the music industry. Yep. Usually the term industry plant is usually used as like a sort of basically like a slur against any new artist that suddenly gets really, really popular. So in the past, people like Lorde and Billie Eilish and
Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran,
Ed Sheeran, there was this whole thing of like, oh, he was homeless once. Like, no, his family are quite wealthy. So it's like,
I mean, sometimes it checks out, sometimes it doesn't. The thing about industry plants I always find kind of funny. It's like the musician. It's the closest that musicians have to like conspiracy theories and things like that. It's like almost like a flat earth.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not too bothered, but like that's basically what an industry plant is. I'm not going to deny that industry plants exist, because they do. It does happen. So the question is, are the biggest thing that's sort of been put against the Tramp Stamps is if they are, and they're being accused of being industry plants. So are they industry plants?
Yeah.
Short answer, yes.
Okay.
Long answer, basically before they decided to become a band, all three of them had pretty decent music careers. So the Blue, the drummer, produced music for shows that have appeared on like MTV and for ads for like Apple and stuff like that. You go on her website and it lists everything that she's worked on, right?
So it's not even
not indie, homegrown. It doesn't have any connections. Like,
not even trying to hide it.
Has worked with people in the industry.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that's kind of funny: Baker and Mano, so Baker being the guitarist and Mano being their lead singer of the band, had already signed deals previously with Dr. Luke. Do you know the producer, Dr. Luke? Do you remember the whole thing with Kesha? And no, vaguely.
I think I know who that is. Yeah.
Dr. Luke basically works with Sony Music, and there was like a whole thing where allegedly, I can't remember how the case turned out. Again, I'm happy to be corrected, but I think that basically Kesha built up a case that she had been sexually assaulted by this guy, Dr. Luke, multiple times throughout her career, and was being manipulated during the contract that she was signed on. But you can look that up in your own time. I can't remember properly what had happened, but
she had a terrible song called TikTok, if I remember.
She did. Yes, that's
back in
right.
2000 and something.
It was a big hit.
Yeah, I remember it was playing everywhere all the time.
Played at school all the time, but there you go. But the thing that's kind of funny, so he signed deals with Dr. Luke's publishing company, Prescription Songs. I just find it funny that a band that calls itself like a feminist pop punk riot girl boss kind of band would sign a deal with an alleged sexual abuser. It doesn't make sense to me. So there's like a little veil of gentle irony on that as well. But the thing is that they already had contact with a big industry name already. So yeah, and they both like they had previous careers to this, and then so yeah, the thing that is bad about it though is like, okay, so what? You know, like they have industry connections. You know, that's inherently it's not a bad thing. Knowing people is not something that is bad. It's the deception.
They said they were something else.
Yeah, it's the deception is bad. I don't care if you have inside connections, but if you go and you're telling people, you know, or you're implying, you know, oh, we just started this band, we're like a bunch of nobodies, blah blah blah, and you're putting up this whole facade. You know, lies don't hold up.
No.
You know, that's why, you know, using that logic, you can therefore, you know, like, it doesn't make sense. Like that's why like moon landing. What's the word?
Conspiracy theories?
Yeah. People who deny the moon landings, right? It never happened. You know, that's one hell of a big lie and a conspiracy.
Yeah.
To like these things come out. Lies don't generally will unravel. Yeah. So don't. You know, there's a good reason not to lie. I feel like every time I get in front of a microphone, I just end up sounding more like Jordan Peterson. It scares me because I just keep saying.
It's fine.
But sometimes the man speaks truth, and
you're gonna come in dressed as a lobster next time.
Yeah, and I'll just come in. I'll just come in naked and green. I'll flap my arms around. I'll be drinking maple syrup.
God. Yeah. Like lies tend to they tend to be found out. I mean, in that case, they didn't even try to lie properly. I mean, if they were going to lie properly, why would they put up their past credentials on their own individual websites? It's like you would if you were want to sustain this for any length of time, you would have like tried to lie a bit better, but. That just says to me this was a short-term money spinner. This is what it rings off.
It's kind of what it's. Yeah, it just totally stinks of that, and it's just so anyway.
Yeah.
And industry plants. Yeah, it's having connections isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's how you. I just all I really care about is people are upfront about things.
This happened way back. There was a controversy on the X Factor or Pop Idol or whatever it was. This was like 15 years ago. There was a guy that came on and he was like really, really good. He had a really great audition, like blew everyone else away, and it was amazing. And then it later transpired that he actually already had a record deal prior, and that's against the rules for auditioning for X Factor. Right. You're not allowed to have any professional connections at all. You have to be completely unsigned, completely never been owned by anyone before. And this guy,
they want to own you,
because they want to own you. But this guy was like, "Oh, I've had a failed pop career or whatever. You know, I was signed, not signed anymore. I'm going to try this," and lied that he was like complete nobody, like just a pub singer or something. And then it all came out. It was like, oh no, he actually was signed. And like, even though it was like they just want you to be unsigned so that they can sign you and own you, so they don't have to pay copyright to any other company or anything. That's what it's about. But he'd also lied to the public. The public were like, oh, this guy's, he's just a nobody. This is amazing. It's like a hero's journey story. But then we later find out that no, this guy's actually kind of an industry plant. Kind of.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this guy's already been through the mill, and he's in a competition with other people who haven't had that benefit. So like you see stuff like this all the time, where it's like, again, in another sort of analogy that's kind of happening just now in sports is Formula One. I follow Formula One quite closely, have done for years, and it's got a really deep problem just now, because 90% of the drivers are sons of billionaires, right? And you're trying to tell me that it just so happens that billionaires produce natural born racers? No. Some of the greatest drivers of all time have come from just the random population. Lewis Hamilton is the most successful racing driver of all time, and he came from a working class village in England. He's just a nobody, and he managed to get up the ranks. But now it's like really hard for that to happen, because teams, they attract billionaires with sons, and then the billionaire pumps money into the teams, so the teams want to sign billionaire sons so that they can get money. So it's basically everyone's an insider, and you'll see a lot of the surnames of these drivers. They're sons and grandsons of past drivers, people who are already in the industry. Whereas there's some young guys kicking about in karting right now that are just, them and their dad, they've spent some money, got a cart, maybe got a couple of sponsors, local village, and they'll never get to that level because they don't have anything to offer the team. So it's like corruption, like all the way through the sport, and for that reason, it's completely ruined. But with athletics at the moment, it's more meritocratic. So it's like, if you can run faster than the other guy, you're through. It's as simple as, it's like, it's not like, oh, his daddy has more money, so therefore it's like, if you can run faster than that guy, or you can throw the thing further than that guy, then you're through. It's more competition based. But with Formula One, you don't even get to try anymore. So it's the whole system's kind of corrupted. But music's different, because it's not as open as that. It can be open to corruption, but it's really hard. I mean, here's a case you're explaining to me right now. Like, this is a case of absolute corruption, and they're failing miserably.
Well, it goes back to the whole like deception thing. That deception, it just keeps going and going and going. It's ridiculous. Part of and the thing that I find hilarious is the style of music that they decide to go for as well. They couldn't have picked a worse scene to try and be
so let's go into that. What's the genre? What do they
pop punk, right? Punk in general, right?
So what's punk? What is punk?
So punk is basically it comes from like the 70s Britain.
Yep.
With bands like Sex Pistols and The Clash and bands like that. You could argue that the Ramones are sort of like, I think they came out with stuff just before the Sex Pistols, maybe just after, I don't remember, but you could classify them in that sort of group as well. It's a wide ranging kind of group, and it's a big umbrella which has lots of little kind of umbrellas, and pop punk kind of becomes a big sort of thing with bands such as Green Day and Blink-182 and etc. Good blah blah blah, right? So punk music, for the most part, this is a big overgeneralization,
Of course,
But like,
what makes
most
it
punk music tends to have like a political undertone to it, right? Because that's what it was born out of, you know, frustration with the government in 70s Britain. Just fair enough, you know. You know, people are, you know, music is reactive and people are going to react in certain ways. Pop punk is punk music which doesn't really have a political undertone or agenda going with it, right?
Yeah, but it's borrowing the style of the original punk.
It's kind of, but it then developed into its own kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they decided, you know, like most Blink-182 songs will be with like general frustrations of like life rather than like big problems like, you know, Israel and Palestine and veganism and whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be like, you know, school's tough. You know,
so you could say like
stuff like that.
The original punk was political.
Yes.
And the offshoots of it took the music that was produced and copied the sound and vibe and aesthetic without the political undertones. It could have political, but it might not.
Yeah, I mean, some bands go even more political. You know, like you know, so it can go either way. But pop punk generally is just about frustrations of daily life, really.
And it's pop because the original punk was not technically popular, because at the time punk was around, disco was popular.
Yeah. That's right. Disco and funk.
Punk was never popular when it was first out. That's something people don't really think about or know. Like the punk rockers were hated in Britain in the 1970s. Everyone hated them. Like my mum and dad are that age, and they were going to like clubs and discos and stuff at that time, and the punk rockers would come in and crash the disco, and everyone hated them. Like they would come in with their weird hair and they're dressed in bin bags and stuff, and they would just come in and just trash the joint and then leave. Like everyone hated them because they were an underground. It was an underground thing.
It was an underground
when it became pop, it was no longer punk in the eyes of those original fans, because punk was supposed to be shouting up to the authority. Now punk became pop. They were now in charge. You know, they were now the dominant like genre, and it's no longer cool.
Yeah, it's just.
It's an interesting genre, actually, like just to study. I studied a bit of it in college.
Interesting.
And how the original punk folk, when punk started to become more mainstream, they got bitter and all this, and they receded back into the studio, and they developed EDM. They were the first people to take electronic dance music to Ibiza, and they opened up clubs in Ibiza. The very first clubs in Ibiza were actually the old punk guys, and it was the whole drug culture came mixed in with it, and that's how we got electronic dance music from the old punk. It's wild. It's fun to study all this stuff. Like
it is interesting
where it all comes in.
But
so they were a punk.
I mean, like some branches of pop punk do take more political views, but they don't tend to be like super it's not like big hard hitting issues. I'm gonna get so much flack for saying this. It'll be things like veganism and like you know, sort of like softcore feminism and things like that. And this is kind of what they were going for. They were like, we're gonna write songs about basically how we've been disappointed by men our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
There's a really, really cringe TikTok video that I saw of them singing, doing a version of like Walking in a Winter Wonderland.
Okay.
And the first line is, "Gone away is my real dad, here to stay is my stepdad.
Oh,
And it's just like, like, so a part of it is that they've marketed themselves as this feminist pop punk group.
yeah.
Fine, but the way that they've gone about it, it really feels like they don't understand what feminism is, which at its core, it's the movement is about the equality of the sexes, and they've just taken it to be women good,
Men bad,
especially if they're white.
Okay.
So a lot of their songs, a lot of their lyrical content is about focusing on bad white men who are bad at having sex because
right.
they're white and bad.
That's what their songs are about.
Basically, I can read you some lyrics if you like.
Please do.
All right, let me look up. I'd Rather Die is a classic. I'd rather. You're gonna have to censor quite a lot of it. It's quite.
That's totally fine. Get my bleep machine out.
It's quite nasty. I can't remember the last time I slept with someone I actually liked and he went down on me. I can't recall a memory of someone driving me home and not asking for a ooh.
These are lyrics.
I'd rather die than hook up with another straight white guy. I'd rather die than fake it like I'm having a good time. I feel like Ben Shapiro reading wet ass pussy. I'd rather die than spend a night with another Ryan or Matthew or John. Yeah, I'd rather die. I actually showed this song to my friend John, who's really into punk music, and he was just like, "What's wrong with the name John?"
That's the thing he found offensive.
Like he thought the whole thing was just terrible. The lyric that's quite controversial here is, "I don't know how you think we're gonna when you can't get it up. I'm sick of hearing it's the alcohol. And when you're finally in the mood, it lasts like 1 or 2 seconds, and then you're done and want a spoon." Like at least try and rhyme. But like the thing that's really problematic about that lyric is the fact that it's implied that this man's sort of being like coerced into having sex when he's under the influence, which, is a form of like, it is just date rape if you do that.
Yeah.
And it goes both ways.
Yeah, but Julian, men can't be raped, so it's fine.
Anyway. But no, people did pick up on that, and like,
really?
Yeah, and they were like, "This is kind of that's kind of messed up."
But it was something you said as well. Like they're moaning about this all the time. Isn't one of them married to a straight white man?
Yes, she is. And on top of that, they're trying to. So funny. They're on top of all the deceptions, they are clearly. Have I shown you a picture of them?
I don't think so. Maybe.
Do it right now.
Oh yeah, you showed me a video the other day.
Yeah, I showed you a video.
Yeah.
And they are trying to pander to the sort of Gen Z kind of crowd, and they are about our age. They're millennials.
The band is.
The band is.
Okay. So late
20s. They're alluding. They're trying to pander to the young kids.
Yeah.
But they really don't understand.
No.
What's going on?
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. So they're trying to get TikTokable songs, I'm assuming, to try and get likes, to try and get sponsors, to try and get money.
Yeah.
Right?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they might see something trending on Twitter and they go, this is kind of, I don't know.
It totally reeks of that. It reeks of like,
let's try and distill this into a band.
This is cool and hip with the kids,
yeah.
So we're going to do this. But it's clearly been completely misunderstood. Like,
it's almost as if it's not authentic.
Yeah, I know, right? Which is the whole problem.
Authenticity.
We come back to this all the time. There's nothing wrong with trying to make your band into a business and to try and make some money. There's nothing wrong with that. And like, because otherwise, how are you gonna pay for your band to do other things? You know, like,
Yeah.
like, so unless it's like a hobby and you're willing to put money into it from like an outside source and
Yeah.
you're not bothered, like, hey, that's totally, that's up to you, you know. And like, I'm sure there's a lot of bands like that are like that, you know. It's just,
Well, the cool thing about
Jimmy and his pals, you know.
the cool thing about the free market is if your music is good and someone finds it valuable, then they're going to tell you that by giving you money, right? So if you make music and put it out there and no one buys it, and you've marketed it and you've done everything right and no one buys it, that's the market telling you that they don't want it. So it's a harsh reality, but it's the same in anything. The market will tell you what you're worth. If you charge too much and no one turns up to your restaurant, if you charge like, I don't know, £50 for a main meal, a main course, and no one turns up, then your food's not worth that yet. So if you charge too little and your doors are like packed and you can't get enough tables, then raise your rates. Like the market will tell you, and it's the same with music. Yeah. Your audience will tell you if you're good or not and they vote with their dollars and their pounds.
And the thing that's frustrating is I'm sure you find this as well. It's even more frustrating when you know that somebody or someone has the capacity to actually create something good, has the tools available to actually do something good, and they just don't.
Yeah.
And that, you know, because they're chasing a trend, basically.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's really what a part of, you know, like individually, you know, these three musicians are decent, good at what they do, but instead they've decided that they're going to try to do this pop punk thing that clearly, honestly, I don't really think that they understand. You know,
yep.
When you listen to their songs, it just sounds like it sounds like somebody who's like listened to some pop punk stuff once, or got it described on paper, and then they were like, "We're gonna do that. Cool, that's fine. We'll do that." Which is kind of a shame. You know.
So do you think that it was the girls themselves that came up with this, or do you think it was some business exec who thought, "What do the kids like these days? Oh, these woke leftists. Oh, they like all this woke identity politics. Let's just make a band on that. We'll make money."
A part of me suspects that. Okay. That a bunch of like, you can picture it, you know, like stereotypical like fat bald men with cigars, just with whiskey, like you know. A part of me suspects that that's what happened, because nobody in their and they must have been promised a whole load of money, because they're really committed to the bit. If it was me, I don't like lying to people, and regardless, I would have given it up. I would have exposed it.
Yeah,
like ages ago.
Yeah. Because you don't know what power they have over them as well, though.
No, that's the thing too. I genuinely don't think that. I don't see how you can think that what you're doing. I don't see how they can think what they're doing is good.
Yeah,
you know, it's anyway.
Yeah, well, so, it's funny because nowadays, like, we talk about things going viral. Now that wasn't a term 15 years ago. So now you've got businesses and bands and everything chasing the next viral thing. Yeah. It's the equivalent of like the stock market, right? So you see a trend of everything's rising. Yeah. So people are like, quickly buy now because we're going to ride this wave up. And then they don't know that tomorrow it's going to tank and they're going to lose all their investment. And it's the same with trending things. When things trend, by the time you get on that trend, it's already gone.
I'm just thinking of all the things that have trended in our lifetimes and have just died.
Yeah.
You know,
Pokemon Go. Remember that?
There's some real hardcore fans that are into it. I know there's a Witcher version of it coming out.
Pokemon Gwent?
No. It's like it's a Witcher like AR game that you play on your phone, and you go about doing like
monster hunting.
Yeah. You do like Witcher contracts.
If I was
out in the wild.
12 years old, I would absolutely love that. Yeah. You're like, yeah, sure. You would totally do that.
I would, yeah. I mean, that sounds sick.
Yeah,
you know, like I saw clips of it, and it's really, really cool. You can like walk about and stuff, and like all the clues come. So like you could be in like the Botanic Gardens, you know, just walking about, and then you'll see like a severed horse head, and you have to inspect it for like you know like claw marks and things like that, so you can figure out what kind of monster it was.
That does sound quite cool.
It is actually kind of cool. Anyway, but I just wouldn't do it. I don't know. I don't like going outside and walking about with a phone like an idiot. you know. Anyway, a lot of the podcasts recently, I think, have driven down on this. I feel like we talked about it a lot anyway. Authenticity is so crucial with when you're making music, and that this goes both ways. I'm not saying that everything that you write has to come from the heart. You can write a song that is clearly about nothing, that just has a good beat, and it's like, just be authentic about the fact that I wrote this song so people can have a good time.
Yeah.
That's fine, because at least you're telling the truth, and you in that regard, like you're coming out, you're telling people exactly how it is. Like I'm thinking of like BTS, right? BTS have not lied about what the band actually is. It's a corporate Korean entertainment group.
Yeah,
basically, right? And I can't really hate it. Like it's being quite open about what it is, and like you can have problems with it if you think it's like over commercializing music or whatever, or you think it's doing something. Like people will have their own issues with it, but at the end of the day, you cannot deny that I think they're just being open and honest about what the group is.
Yeah.
Right. This, on the other hand, is not that. No. It's the complete opposite. It's three people who already had careers and then decided to basically chase a trend, and try to pander to a group of to a generation that they don't understand. I would never write music for Gen Zers because I don't know it.
You're not Gen Z.
I'm not. I don't understand. I don't get it. There's even some memes where I'm just like,
beyond you.
Yeah. I don't understand. I don't get it.
Don't get the references or whatever.
Yeah. Or like some Gen Z humor is just, I just don't understand it. Anyway, like, but I wouldn't. That's not my first port of call. I'm just going to be writing music about
what interests you,
what interests me, and problems that, issues that I think about and topics that I'm interested about. I'm not going to create these fictional narratives where I'm constantly having terrible sex all the time, where I hate white men, like, because, like,
you don't.
That's not. I'd never. It would be like to go as ridiculous as possible, right? I'm not going to write songs about how tough it is to be a millennial in North Korea, because I've never been to North Korea. I've never lived in North Korea. I don't understand it. So I can, the best I can do is maybe write a song about critiquing totalitarianism. Like that's about the best I can do. But like, I've never lived in that, so I could, like, my take on it is going to be super shallow.
Yeah.
And I would never base my whole identity on something. I mean, it's kind of almost like an argument. I'm sort of like taking it all the way to the absurd, but like, sometimes I feel like that's how like something is pretty silly. It's just taking it all the way to the end. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If you're gonna write as a band, you're gonna write music, write about, just be upfront with what you're writing. If you just want to write like indie bangers or whatever you want to do, that's fine. You can make up stories, completely fictional stories. There's a experimental hip hop group called Clipping, where all their songs are from like a third person perspective, like he, she, like they're all about other people, and they create stories around these. They're basically short stories, but they're being rapped at you with some really funky, glitchy drums. It's great. But do that if you feel so inclined to do something like that. But making up experiences and writing about them, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Especially if it's if you're writing about someone in a Martian colony, it's got to be fiction, because there isn't a real Martian colony. So you can write whatever you want.
Or is there?
You can make it super creative and put your heart and soul into it and what you would imagine it would be like. That's fine. But these people are writing for Gen Zs, and there are millions of Gen Zs, and they're going to find you out. Like, they're writing as if they're coming from that mode of thinking, but there are millions of people out there who have that mode of thinking and are reading or listening or watching and going, no, this is not authentic. This is not what we think. And you're posing. You're posers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to...
And let me tell you...
School of Rock, the greatest muso film of all time, in my opinion. He points that out halfway through the film. Is like, no, don't hang out with those guys. Those are posers. They're not actually part of this. They're just posing as if they're a part of this. When Freddie, the drummer, is in the van with the guys smoking weed or whatever, listening to punk or whatever. He's like, no, they're not real musicians. They're just posers. They like the aesthetic of the thing. They're actually not in the creative process. They're not actually doing anything. Yeah. No. So like the movie calls out all through the movie. It's such a good movie.
It is a good movie. It's good fun.
It's like all the stuff we talk about in the podcast gets dealt with through the movie all the time. It's like the man, and don't be a corporate shill. Speak from within. It's got all of these themes all the way through the whole film. It's a great film. That's what inspired me to become a musician. Actually, that film.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I know that. But yeah, no, you're totally right. Yeah, basically, it's when you put. I've got it written here. When you put money above your band's message, like I said, nothing wrong with making money, but it's when your sole goal as a band is to make. If that's what you want to do, start a function band. Don't write original music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Play other people's music. And you will get paid.
The bands that tend to just think about the music and creating stuff that they're authentically engaged with, those are the bands that make the most money. Not the ones that chase the money.
Yeah.
it's completely the inverse of what you think, because people find value in things that you find value in. If you're genuinely into this thing, people will gravitate towards that, and they'll see the authenticity, and they will reward you.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with this band from here, because they've released an EP which is called something awful. What is it? We Got Drunk and Then Made This EP, I think is what it's called. Because that's what Gen Zs like to do. They like to get drunk. Did you know that? You just like to drink.
Okay, sure.
No, I don't know. I don't know what like that's that's already like a very millennial way of thinking. It's like beers and get drunk at house parties and that kind of thing. I don't think that Gen Zs are super into.
Well, they have Zoom parties, Julian. That's what you do now.
They just zoom about. Zoomers.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, where was I?
Authenticity.
Basically, yeah, that's it. Authenticity. Always authenticity. You don't, put that first and foremost. If you have like a studio or regular like rehearsal space that you can put things in, just write authenticity and like nail it to the wall.
Yeah.
And keep looking at it. That should be the thing that should drive you. I don't want you at the end of the day. Also, don't worry about it too much. Just write what you want to write. When you write what you want to write, you'll be authentic. So if you decide that that there is no deep message in this song, that's fine. It doesn't matter. You can write a dumb song that has a good beat, but just be real about the fact that it's a dumb song with a fun beat, and that's the reason you wrote it. That's fine.
Yeah. I keep thinking about that Bruno Mars song, Today I Don't Feel Like Doing Anything.
Yeah.
Can't remember the name of the song.
Yeah. Lazy, I think it's just called.
Right. It's the whole song is just about him not being bothered, and he's just doing nothing. That's the whole song's about. It's just, but it's a great song.
Mm-hmm.
It's authentic. It's not like, because the reason why people relate to it is because it's like, oh yeah, that's accurately describes like
99% of the populace.
Yeah, everyone relates to that because it's authentic. Yeah, so it's like with authenticity, it's just, it always harkens back to that thing we keep talking about, is like writing about stuff that you have experienced or know a bit about, and not writing what you think someone wants to hear.
Yeah, don't write about stuff that you think people want to hear, because you don't know what people will want to hear.
It's like when we are coming up with podcast episodes, like topics, I always base it on things that I didn't know before and now do, or things that I have experienced and figured out a way.
For me, it's like, things, a couple of them have been things that Gavin will know that I don't know anything about. I'd like to know more.
So I'd like a free lesson. Music tech.
Or for me, it'll be like, I think this is interesting, and I think people will get something interesting out of this as well. Which was the whole idea with like looking at these different bands and things like that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this band. They've released that EP, and I've listened to some of the songs on it, and it's not a good time. It's pretty bad. And their YouTube page, the comments on all the videos are, it's comedy gold.
Are they just all negative?
In a funny way.
Okay.
Like, people are actually being pretty
satirizing
witty
it.
And yeah. We'll have a look at them after the episode, because they're actually pretty funny. But yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see where they go from here, because I feel like, it kind of goes back to this whole like, they technically got a lot of publicity, and there is that whole thing of like, there's no such thing as bad publicity, which is I guess it's true because people listen to Charles Manson's album all the time.
Okay.
Notorious cult leader. But so maybe all this like nonsense, they people have been talking about it. We're talking about them.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I was like, is there an example of a time where a band was a complete shill all the time, constantly doing like writing for an audience, not writing authentically, and have been super uber successful?
I'm trying to think. Well,
we need to think about that.
We will need to think about that. Because the thing is that I don't think that with a lot of these bands, I don't think that they ever sort of said that this, they've not pretended that they are not corporate shells. Do you know what I mean? I'll think about that. I'll think about that. So there will be bands out there that people listen to because, the tunes are good, but yeah. Anyway, so that was the Tramp Stamps, folks. Basically,
interesting.
Don't lie. Thing number one.
Good idea.
Don't lie. Having industry connections is okay, but don't lie about not having them.
Right.
And if you're gonna write stuff, write about stuff you understand.
Right.
That could be anything.
Yeah.
Like if you're a songwriter out there who studied like paleontology and you just want to write songs about dinosaurs, why don't you just write songs about dinosaurs? That'd be sick. I'd listen to that band. I don't know anything about dinosaurs, but like if somebody's passionately writing about it, then
I know.
It'll captivate somebody.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna write a song ode to XLR cables.
Yeah, that would quite. Wonder what you could do.
Sound engineers across the world would just
silence.
Yeah, verse 1, going to be a little section about DI boxes, and then going to get full into TRS cables, and going to write a cracking
bop. XLRs.
No.
Anyway, so that's the Tramp Stamps.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I hope you enjoyed that. Got a bit rambly at points. I tend to do that.
That's good. So
don't lie. Be authentic.
Be authentic. Hashtag authenticity. Mm-hmm. As always, give us a rating on Apple Podcasts if you enjoyed the episode. That would help us immensely. And if you've got any podcast topics or requested guests or anything, send us a message on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, wherever you happen to be, or just go straight on the website, which is levelupyourband.com. We'll reply to your message, as long as it's not a bot. We get lots of bots, lots of.
Do you get for a while? I used to get lots of kind young men from like Southeast Asia wanting to be my manager, and I was like,
yeah, had a few of them.
They're so kind.
Yeah, just listen to your episode, and it's absolutely fantastic. I'm like, no, you haven't.
You've not listened to it.
You've not. You really not, because it was a terrible episode.
I know.
Cool. So, that was cool. I was excited for this one because I just heard how terrible this whole.
Oh,
thing
you got
was.
a little sneak peek into the band as well.
So hope you enjoyed that. That was a good episode. Once again, not sure what we're going to do next week. But I've got a couple of ideas in mind, so we'll see. Anyway, hope you got a lot out of this. I did. It was good fun. And we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Bye.